inflation is up over 9%. If you're not finding a way to tap into a community and figuring out how to make money while you sleep, like you're going to struggle, you're going to suffer. You need to jump into communities like this and take action and learn as much as you can, and then take action, right? Because at the end of the day, knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is. So jumping into communities, jumping in, listening to things like this, and then just taking action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Man, the time has finally come. We're on the very first episode of the Cyberspace podcast. I just want to welcome each and every one of you guys to this podcast. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, and now we finally found the time to implement it, just because we really want to be innovators within this space. Really before we dive into this episode, I'm excited about the podcast for one reason only, and that's because that's where a lot of my background comes from. Especially in the content creation world. This was like my very first business that I ever built. And that happened back in October of 2019. Roll a few months later, COVID happened, and that essentially shut down my podcasting studio. But really the main one thing that I loved about podcasting was just getting to hear the stories coming from people and how they came about into whatever industry it was that they were in. Right here sitting on the stage with me, we have Coach Carver, we have Parker J. Smith, and we have Kevin, the project lead there at Cybonix. These are three powerhouse dudes that really know what it is and really what it takes to really be successful in an industry that is so undiscovered at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass the mic off. I want everybody just to kind of introduce themselves and, let the audience really relate to you, be open, be vulnerable with people, because that's what we're here to do at the end of the day, is just build some connections. So I would really like to hear from Kevin first.
Yeah, brother. I mean, it's been quite a journey getting into the space. I mean, just coming from the normal 9-to-5 life, IT project manager in Web2, worked for a few Fortune 100 companies, leading operations there, and just really looking over and project managing multi-million-dollar projects. I mean, it's something I'm passionate about. I'm a people person. I love working with big teams, and unfortunately, I had to go on disability leave, and next thing you know, I'm put in a position with a buddy of mine, and he's like, hey, we're looking for somebody with a professional background that might be able to manage a project. I'm like, all right, let's talk about it. What does it look like? Next thing I know, I'm on a call with 15, 20 guys, huge brands on Twitter, big influencers, things like that. And they're talking about NFTs. What is NFTs, man? So, that's pretty much where the journey kind of kicked off with my transitioning from Web2 IT project manager to now Web3. And that really kind of opens the door to, what is Cybonix, right? But before we get into all that, we've got Parker here, we got Carver here. Carver, leading operations. I think it would be a good transition to go over to him so he can kind of talk about himself and just his journey in Web3 also. I think it's pretty cool.
Appreciate that, Kevin. Appreciate it, Adam. Thanks for kicking this thing off, man. I got to say, I'm completely honored to be able to be here first and foremost, and definitely excited to be able to be on this journey with you guys, coming from, some of my background, give you guys a little rundown. 30-year-old, happily married, father of 4, living out here in Michigan, served almost 6 years in the United States Army, got injured on my second deployment to Afghanistan, ended up getting medically retired. And from there, I was kind of lost growing up, wanted to be in the military for the rest of my life, be that old guy where they're like, look, man, you're getting old. It's time for you to get out. And, they say the two most important times in your life are when you're born and when you figure out why. And at that time, I didn't really know my why. I didn't know my passion. And, I went home, I was lost. I had a fresh traumatic brain injury, was struggling with PTSD, and, started going through a lot of different things, got introduced to network marketing, ran up some, really large organizations there, was able to build a team of over 10,000 people, learned a lot of valuable lessons on, just team building and being able to, really just build a large network and mentor and just guide a lot of people and just being able to, build that culture and community. And from there, got introduced to trading in the foreign exchange market, got into cryptos, and then led into DeFi, and then eventually led into, what Kevin was talking about, what the heck are NFTs? And from there, I actually, it was kind of funny. I was putting myself off from getting into the NFT space for a little while just because I knew like my personality, like I get addicted to something when I dive into it. And I was like, man, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go down that rabbit hole. And after seeing a bunch of people make a good bit of money, I was like, all right, let's check this out. And, dived headfirst in, started really coming in, find some great communities like the Chunk Chameleons. And obviously here at Cybonix, where I was able to take some of my skill sets that I have from, the Web2 space and marketing and just, entrepreneurship and being an advisor for a lot of those companies and taking that same level of expertise and coming into amazing communities like this with these amazing individuals here on this space. So definitely honored to be here. And with that being said, I want to go ahead and get ready to pass this thing over to my boy, Parker J. Smith, so he can go ahead and give you a nice little rundown on who he is. Appreciate you guys having me on here.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Kevin. Hey, guys, I'm Parker. It's a pleasure to meet everyone digitally, as I've been meeting everyone that I've been coming into contact with for the last year now in the digital world. I feel that my life has really transitioned fully almost into the digital plane. I'm a 21-year-old. I'm from Chicago. I'm a professional athlete, and I'm a full-time degen. I'm really big into the space. I've been in crypto for a long time. I've been in NFTs for almost a year now. I really fell into the space. I love new stuff. I love opportunity. I love innovating. And I felt like this was an opportunity unlike anything else I had been able to jump into before. So when I found NFTs, it was first as an investor, then eventually as a low-level team member, worked my way all the way up to founding a few of my own projects. And I've since made a name for myself within the space just purely by meeting people and using the skills that I already had. I ended up dropping out of college and pursuing this and soccer full time, and it was the best decision I ever made. So just happy to be here today, share the floor with you guys. It's certainly going to be a great podcast we're putting together here. And Adam, I just want to thank you for being the driving force behind it all. I'm excited for the conversation today.
Much love, Adam. 21 years old and most experience out of all four of us. It's freaking crazy, man. It's that goes to show that age is just a number in this space. Am I right?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I think, I don't know if I would say most experienced, because we got some experience on the call, but I do know exactly what you're saying. It's been always interesting having conversations with people you meet in the digital world, and you don't know if someone's a boy, a girl, 21, 55, if they live in Nigeria, if they live in the US, they live in Mexico. It's just whatever. Like, we're just all people trying to achieve common goals. And it's really dope about this space. I'm honored to be the most experienced of this panel, but certainly got a lot to learn. I think the beautiful thing about NFTs is that no one really knows what the hell we're doing, right? We're all just learning day by day, and you got to be humble and hungry to keep learning. So appreciate that though, Kev.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. Parker was saying that within the NFT space, or with all these degens or regens, however it is that you really identify yourself as within the NFT space, we all have a common ground, and that is who we were in the Web2 world to who we are now in the Web3 world. For me, like I said, back in 2019, I was running a podcasting studio, first time ever running a business for myself, because I come from a very blue collar style city where either we're working at, our family's companies, we're running the family's company, we're working at the local car wash, we're doing a lot of those, manual labor style jobs that do pay really well. And a lot of people don't understand, what is digital media. That's something that I've always had a strong passion for, because I was always just wanting to learn more about it and figure it out. I mean, I remember telling my mom whenever I was like maybe 12 or 13 years old that whenever I grew up and I was able to really kind of do my own thing, that I wanted to run some type of company that I was able to help others like really become the person that they were intended to be. I wasn't really sure what that meant, but that was just a message that, kind of flowed within me. And so really from there, that's what really led me into content creation. And whenever I got into content creation as just a hobby, from there, I was just like, man, I really feel like I can start to leave an impact on people. It wasn't so much based off of, the video games that I was, live streaming, or the things that I was talking about on the podcast. It was the fact that I was able to really connect with people that I wasn't necessarily getting to connect with within my own community, because everybody had such a narrow mind. And so that's what I loved about the digital world. And whenever the pandemic happened, and I lost, it was like somewhere right around 23 to 25% of my business, because people didn't want to come to the studio to record anymore, which is, I had to be okay with that. I couldn't be mad about it. I had to be okay with it. And from that point forward, I was like, okay, how do I begin to innovate within my own life to figure out what's next for me? And within that time, it was just something silly popped up on YouTube. As we all go through YouTube university, learning different things, learning different techniques, or whatever it is, I ran across a trading ad. And that's how I actually got into trading. Is I started trading stocks. I wanted to be a day trader. I always knew what the potential was behind it. And then that's really what led me into more of the Forex space. And then from there, I really started to learn what crypto was. And then all of a sudden, this 3 little letter word came into play, and it was NFTs. And I was just like, what's an NFT? It's like, why would I buy this digital picture to just have in a wallet? And then whenever I thought that, I was like, wait, a minute, what's a wallet? And, so it was just a whole journey within itself. And, the last, I guess it's 6 months, 7 months now, has been, nothing but a blessing in disguise more than anything for me. I've got to meet, some of the most unique people, some of the most like-minded people, and really was able to build a tribe of people around me that I had been wanting, that I had been kind of manifesting. And, I think, meeting all of you guys in Chicago, whenever we met, that was kind of like the cherry on top. It really sealed the deal for me of just like, okay, we really got to stay focused. Like, this is your path. Like, if there's any time in history, or any time in the present moment to really bet on myself, it's now. I came into the NFT industry, I invested in Coalition Crew, and I got a really good return from it within like the first 3 months or something. So whenever I was able to get that, that return, it was just like, okay, now is the time to really just kind of go all in on the things that, I was thinking up here that I knew how to do. And now it's about, just putting myself out there. And, what is putting yourself out there? For me, that was getting up on Twitter stages and speaking in front of people, because, that does get a little overwhelming whenever, you are up on a stage with Parker J. Smith here, and you aren't really sure what to say. Or if you're on a Zoom call with him, and, Carver goes off on a rant, and he just drops a lot of alpha within like a 2 minute and 30-second span, like, how do you pick up off of that kind of stuff? And so that's just something that I've been able to kind of like work on within myself, is to figure out, okay, how can I truly become that person of value, the guy that I was talking about, who I wanted to become? Now, how do I actually, believe in myself? Because I know Carver has this dumb little saying that's not really so much dumb, is that, hey, if you hang out with me long enough, I can trick you into believing in yourself. Well, I thought that saying was so dumb whenever I heard it. Now that I actually believe it now. Now I can flip on a camera and just start going in on a certain topic and just feel completely like fine and comfortable with what it was that I had to say. But really going back to where you hit that nail on the head there, Parker, was, we have a common ground. And I think that's what Web3, that's one of the biggest things that Web3 has to offer, is that, yes, we all understand that we have a common ground and a common goal to reach. Now it's about, how do we work together to reach those results, or get those results that we're looking for? Because we're not here to go against each other at the end of the day. We're here for the good time. We're here for the good vibes, because we get to be the type of person that we've always wanted to be, without any opinions, without any judgment. That, a lot of us can say that we don't care about the judgments, we don't care about the opinions, but in some shape or form, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be in the back of your mind, like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have said that on camera, because, Carver's probably going to think this, and I didn't mean that. Or Parker's like, man, why would he even say that? That's just kind of dumb. But that's not Web3. That's a lot of Web2 stuff. And, really, that's really the topic of conversation that I wanted to have for this very first episode of Cyberspace, was, the integration there between Web2 to Web3. So I know I kind of went on a little rant there about some different things and things that I've been feeling, things I've been able to work on. So kind of what was that integration like for you guys?
Hey, I really
Before
love
we
that.
before we get into that, man, can I just say, like, how many sayings do we know Carver has, man? I mean, blessed and highly favored.
Hey,
There's
every
one
day.
thing that Carver's good for. It's a saying, that's for sure.
Hey,
That was
mantras,
spitting on
bro.
my
At the end of the
goldfish.
day, hey, listen, at the end of the day, you got to have these mantras that you live by, these positive affirmations, these things that you tell yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the thought between your two ears, you know? So the things that you're telling yourself, the things you're thinking about, like what Adam's talking about, you know, a lot of people, you know, we're at the end of the day, we are our own worst critics. Like no one's going to be able to talk down onto us more than we talk down on ourselves. And I've been there, look, dealing with depression, dealing with PTSD, dealing with anxiety, all that stuff. So these manifestations, these positive affirmations, these mantras, I mean, these are things to live by. And, you know, when you take a look at this space, it's one of the things that I really like. And Parker, you're going into that, and Adam as well, as like, you know, just the true community, right? We talk about at the end of the day, you know, you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. And if those people are not pouring into your cup and they're not encouraging you to do more, have more, and become more, you have 2 choices. One, you become the person that goes ahead and you pour into their cup. You encourage them to become better. You encourage them to do more, have more, and become more. And you encourage them to jump into this space and get to, you know, get connected with all of these amazing communities and people who truly do just want to see you win. And one of the reasons, you know, I decided to take that leap and walk away from the entire, you know, Web2 space and just really come in and just dive in head first was because I know that we can make a much larger impact, right? I've been a part of different you know, companies, like very large companies building large organizations where people are paying multiple hundreds of dollars a month to get access to education, right? And when we're talking about getting into the Web3 space, one of the most powerful things that we have here are these NFTs. When they're integrated with ecosystems that have true value, there's a lot of power behind it, right? When I take a look at an NFT, I don't just see a right click save PFP. What I see is I see a key, and that key gets you access to an ecosystem. And within the ecosystem, you can find a lot of really amazing things. You take a look at Cybonix, for example, look at all the alpha that you have access to by holding one NFT. You don't have to pay any monthly payments. You don't have to go in and do anything like this. You purchase one thing one time or you mint it. You have access to the ecosystem. You just unlocked all these doors. Now you have access to transformational thinking where you're getting connected with certified transformational trainers. You have access to the digital gold mine with myself and Parker and Adam here throwing down, teaching fundamental and technical analysis, going in depth on the things that you need to be able to be successful within the space, talking about all the trials and tribulations that we've been through in our trading careers and our investment careers, and being able to break that down and lay it out to where you can go through and you can tap into this space and grow together. Right? You have people from all around the world tapping in from all different time zones, staying up super late at night to jump in just to be a part of the community, the vibe. We talk about it, right? One day in the Web3 space is like a week, a month in the real world because things are just so fast paced and so moving, you know, just continuously growing. So like when you take a look at these NFTs and how you can grow and just tap in, you got to find that, you know, that company, that brand, that community that has what you're looking for, that thing that you're looking for that's going to help you grow and become better, and people that are going to push you to do it, a community that truly wants to see you flourish. And that's some of the things that we look at is some of the education and connections that we have throughout this entire process, taking the skill sets that we have. You take a look at somebody like Mr. Adam Beckner here, Abex, I would say probably one of the most underrated members on the team. This guy is a complete freaking powerhouse. And I've watched him grow just significantly more once he had that, you know, point where he's like, look, I believe in myself. He's absolutely right. He jumps in, he tunes in, and he comes in every day. He has those phenomenal ideas. He has everything here within the space and the power to execute on it. This master brand strategist, being able to take those undervalued, underappreciated skill sets in Web2, bring that to Web3, and being able to come in and be a part of a core team within a successful project, like that's powerful. And I look at this space and I see nothing but opportunities, right? Just really nothing but opportunities to be able to come in and take what it is that you're good at and being able to monetize that and being able to build a community and a brand around it, because chances are if you enjoy it, there's somebody else out there in the world that enjoys it as well. So being able to take that leap in understanding the Web3 space, don't look at it as a bunch of degens doing a bunch of crazy shit. At the end of the day, you need to look at it for what it is. And there are really good pockets and good communities right within this space, and being able to tap into those and use that key to access all of that different alpha, all of that different education and just networking and resources and utility that you can can. And that's one of the things that I think you guys need to take a look at when you're taking a look at the transition from Web2 to Web3, understanding it as the opportunity that it is, that fellowship as it is. I spent almost 6 years in the United States Army. And when I got injured, I got medevaced out and I got medically retired. One of the things that hurt me the most wasn't even the fact that I'd had my head split open, a jacked up shoulder, knee, back, and all the internal mental pain going on. But some of it was just losing that camaraderie, that fellowship, that brotherhood, being able to have people to count on and grow with. And that's the thing that I see within this space is you see an entire community of people, like Parker said, working towards that same goal. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass up the mic.
Dude, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Carver goes on these little rants like that, and it's just like, how are you really supposed to follow up on everything that he just said? And it's just like, almost, if you guys kind of miss some of that, back it up 30 seconds, back it up 45 seconds, and really pick apart what he said there. I know there was one little saying in there that he said, back to Carver's sayings, is that Web3, whenever it comes to being on a team with other people, they don't necessarily place a monetary value on who you are. It's about what you really bring to the table and how they can help you really step into the person that you need to become. For me, this is a piece that I really struggled with, because I always, undersold myself a lot whenever it came to picking up new clients in the Web2 industry or in the world. Is that, I always ran across people that found it very hard to, even pay me $250, pay me $500 a month to create, 30, 45 days worth of content for them. And it's just like that was like the last $500 that they had, but in all reality, it wasn't. And so for me, there was a lot of just like mental, what would be the right word to use there? It's like a lot of like, it was a lot of mental game that I always had to play with, and I always had to really build a strong mental foundation to even get up in the morning, to even really look in the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, because it was hard, a lot of people, because you have people that you're trying to sell a service to, and then you try to place a value on it, and then they don't want to pay that value. Well, at the end of the day, how's that going to make you feel? Because like, this is like your entire life. Like, this is what you're going after. It's not like I just went to a 9-to-5 job, worked for a company, designed some graphics, and then at the end of the day, I just got to go home and do whatever. No, it wasn't like that at all. Each and every day was like me stepping into like a sales gauntlet, trying to just close one person that day, or even just try to get the one meeting that I was really going after. And that's just one of those little pieces that Carver was talking about there, was that, you don't necessarily have like a monetary value that sits over the top of you, or that sits on, or that really weighs your shoulders. And it's a lot more of a, I'm not going to say peaceful work environment, but it's not, it doesn't even really become a work environment, if you guys know what I'm saying. It's just like, you get up in the morning, you feel happy, I'm to that point where I can really look in the mirror, figure out who it is that I am and who I'm trying to become, and continue to keep working on that. And so that's just, like I said, that's just one thing I love about Web3 is, I don't have this unnecessary weight on my shoulders anymore.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, just coming from your traditional 9-to-5, and just a lot of the individuals that I was used to being surrounded by and just having to report to, it's a completely different scenario coming into the Web3 space. I mean, I compare the two. Like I remember back in the day, like about a year ago, when I was still working my 9-to-5. I mean, it was a lot to do with reporting a lot of higher ups, and there was a lot of pressure to deliver to those higher ups. And I used to undermine myself and just not be as confident as I am now, because I mean, these guys are in a position of power that I mean, it becomes really hard to believe in yourself and to like really direct the right message to them. And just transitioning over to this scene, I mean, I felt like that at first, don't get me wrong. I mean, just somebody that just didn't have that much knowledge in the space. And I mean, I just always remember just going into AMAs and having to say stuff as a project lead with Parker leading the way, and just, him having the experience that he's had in the space already, and just throwing down in the AMAs and Twitter spaces. And I'm like, how the hell do you follow up like that? But I think it really comes down to like understanding the product and just gaining that confidence, right? Because just the scenario that we were put in with this project, I mean, just I remember just early conversations with Parker when he's just like, man, like the position you're put in right now, like 99% of individuals coming into the space don't have artists like you have, don't have people backing the project like you have, don't have like the idea like you guys had, and you just had it all fall in place first chance. And I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, that's totally the case. And I mean, we were going into our mint with like a PFP project scenario, and it didn't do as well as I thought it would. And then boom, I'm hit with this sense of responsibility now. Like at least we sold 1,500 pieces out of 10K. It is what it is, but now we got to make something out of it, and now we got to start building, right? So now comes the conversation with all the individuals that I've met up to date, and I mean a lot of powerful people in the space. And at the end of the day, man, they're all on their own grind. They're all trying to do their own thing in the space also, and they're just other individuals, just like anybody else. I think that's the number one thing to understand, and just that extra sense of responsibility put on you as just somebody that's looked at as the lead of the project. You know, it's just it becomes a lot easier to gain that confidence quickly and figure something out, because I'm all about problem solving, man. And I think just being put in that scenario was a blessing in disguise for sure.
Yeah, Kevin, I like what you said there in terms of just being willing to adapt and you know, not getting too big for your britches. It happens all the time in Web2. You know, we see these people that either undervalue or overvalue themselves all the time for whatever reason. And the reason why I left behind kind of the conventional idea I was going for with an engineering degree, and this idea that, you know, I was going to go into the medical field and all this stuff, I was just like, Web3 is a space where you can just be you. Like, you, whatever skills you have, whatever you know, whatever you don't know, whatever you can do, whatever you can't do, you just put it on the table like it is and find someone that's looking for that. You don't have to have a special piece of paper. You don't have to have a special background. You don't have to have a special bit of experience or knowledge. It's simply, what are you capable of doing as a person? And how can that help someone else achieve their goals? And you're not going to find another place like that. Like, I mean, I'm a 21-year-old college dropout, and I have never felt more fulfilled. And I don't think I could have ever been this fulfilled taking the traditional route. Now, that's not to say that it's for everyone. It's not to say that everyone will feel the same way, but this is a space where you truly have ownership of your identity. You have ownership of your assets. You have ownership of your time. You have ownership of your life. Like, there's nothing more powerful than just actually being your own pilot, actually being the captain of your own ship. Like, for myself, that was the main indicator for me that this was the right move. I was in a space surrounded by people that didn't question me. They didn't second guess me. They didn't look for this, that, or the next thing to validate what it was that I was capable of. They said, hey, here's your job, do it. And I did it well, and I got another job, and I got another job. And it's an industry unlike most. You know, I've never met someone in this space that says, well, where'd you graduate from? Well, what's your degree in? Oh, how many years of experience you have? No one cares. It's like, what's your name? What do you like to do? Like, do you have a family? You know, those are the questions that are asked in this space. I meet people, I'm like, what's up, man? Where are you from? How old are you? Oh, cool. Oh, you're 15? Well, you're a great artist. I don't care how old you are. Like, that is really the beautiful part about this space. So, I mean, for me, the transition from Web 2 to Web 3 was very seamless. I was in an environment where I was able to dive into it. And there was certainly a time period where I was killing myself. I was just like working probably 8 to 10 hours a day while being an engineering student, while playing soccer, you know, while trying to also not get dumped by my girlfriend and maybe maintain a little bit of a college social life. So it certainly wasn't the easiest feat, but at the same time, I was like, work didn't feel like work. It felt like fulfillment. It felt like achievement. And that's why I was like, man, I could do without the rest of the stuff. Give me the stuff I love, right? Give me soccer. Give me my job in this world. The rest of it, it can wait. I'll come back for it later if I want it. I urge more people to explore the possibilities here because it's crazy, man. There's truly no limit, no ceiling in this industry. And if you think NFTs are a bubble, if you think crypto is a bubble, go please do a little bit more research. I promise you, you'll be shocked to find that technology is not a bubble. It's here. It's here to stay. This is just the next version of technology. You know,
Just like when
social
they
media.
said the .com era was going to be a bubble,
Exactly.
you know, like, oh, it's going to crash. Like I remember seeing an article shared the other day. It was funny. They were talking about like how the internet's like just a fad and it's going to go, it's here today and gone tomorrow, bro. It's funny, man. Like it, yeah. And I'm right there with you, brother. Like,
People have always been afraid of what they don't understand and what they don't know and what they're not a part of, right? If you hate crypto and you're anti-crypto, I mean, yeah, I'd be writing articles too about crypto going to zero. Like, you know, I don't use my time to support things that I'm not in favor of, but I would just urge everyone to, you know, be a little bit more free thinking. I'm sure, you know, when the light bulb was first invented, people didn't really want to give up their candles. And I'm sure that, you know, when the internet first came around, people didn't want to give up their newspapers. When social media came around, people didn't want to give up, you know, their phone calls and their text conversations. But this is the next coming. This is the digital age that we live in. You know, adapt or die, I guess is the only way to put it.
you're right, brother. And that's one of the things too. Like a lot of people look at this space right now, even, and, you know, I know there's some people looking at it like, oh, it's too late. I missed it. You know, like you see all these, you know, blue chip and green chip projects being super successful. And a lot of people look at this and they think, hey, I'm late, but it's still so early right now. Like it just such a very small percentage of the world is actually here within NFTs. I mean, it's just crazy, right? Taking a look at this space, but you did touch on something that I really like. You know, this is a space where you can just come in and be yourself and being able to say like how you're talking about, like, you don't need a certain background, you know, oh, you can't launch a project because you're not a master art student or whatever. Like we've seen like 14, 15-year-old kids launch their own successful projects and crush it, right? Like you got people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, no bias, just coming in and just pouring your heart and soul out each and every single day. And just like you, Parker, brother, the traditional route wasn't for me. I tried doing school. I went after a you know, criminal justice degree. And I realized very quickly I didn't have the attention span. And for that same reason, I didn't finish school is the same reason I didn't, you know, become a stalker. I couldn't, you know, stick with it long enough.
Hey, you got to know what you're good at, coach. You know, stalking isn't for everyone. For me, my attention span's great. I could stalk all night, but some of us, we got to stick to shorter things. I had every intention of getting my degree and, you know, go in the traditional route. I come from a traditional family, hardworking parents that, you know, made an honest living for themselves and became very successful doing things the right way. And geez, when I called up my dad, who's been a doctor for 30 years, and I told him, hey, Dad, I'm dropping out of school to sell pictures on the internet. He was like, is this OnlyFans or like, what are you doing? You know, he was really confused as to what I meant. And it was definitely not an easy sell, but the reality is that, like, if you want something, you got to go get it. I've always been someone that says, like, burn your boats, man. When you pull up to the shore, if this is the land you want, you go and take it.
And I think there's nothing wrong with the traditional route, though. I mean, it's safe is what it is, right? Like you have a clear path to how to get to that 9 to 5 level, how to get to that traditional sense, right? But I mean, yeah, you're right. You got to take a risk sometimes, and sometimes those risks pay off, man. And I feel like, yeah, had I not taken the jump to do this, I wouldn't be here with all of you guys. And I mean, it's just been a hell of a ride up to date. I mean, it's only been since what, like February-ish since we started working together, and it's felt like years. I've known you guys for years, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the thing to understand is, like, life is like investing. Life is like trading. We all have different risk tolerance. We all have different stuff that, you know, suits us or doesn't suit others of us. And the reality is, like, full-time into Web3 might not be for you. You know, you may not be someone that likes NFTs. You may not be someone that likes crypto, but just understand it, right? Give it the time of day, because you didn't have to like Facebook or like MySpace or like social media to understand the value of it, right? And understand how it would help to shape our entire world, you know, in the coming years. So just give it a little bit more thought than you currently have been. And if you're happy in your conventional world and you love what you do and you're working the traditional route and it feels fulfilling to you, by all means, don't walk away from that. But if you're not, if you're miserable and you're running the rat race and you're like, oh, I hate this, the 9 to 5, the corporate world, it just kills me. Why do it? Why do it is all I have to say. Especially the whole space, I feel, is very young, right? We talk about the old guys in the space are like 29. It's like you're not.
Hey, calm down.
That's what I'm saying. Like Carter's the grandpa in the group, and he is not old by any stretch of the imagination. We're living in a world that's dominated by young people. 20 is the new 40. 40 is your grandparent, right? The reality is that this world is whatever you make of it. If you choose to ignore it, it will pass you by. If you choose to grab it with 2 hands and seize it, I promise you'll be in for quite the ride.
No, I definitely believe that there's a lot of truth to everything that you were just talking about there, Parker. And I had a lot of things to say, like as of like 2.5 minutes ago. But now I can't remember exactly where I was going to go with it. But I do know, I think one of the most frustrating things for me is whenever I was at, a family gathering for Easter. A lot of the family, hey, what have you been up to? Having just the very common conversations that go on at family gatherings, nothing too in depth, very, very low level conversations. And so I started to kind of go in on, NFTs and, investing in crypto and all of that stuff. And, what one of my own family members kind of looked at me and was just like, basically told me to my face that was dumb and I was going to lose all of my money and, blah, 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 blah. We all know those conversations, but I hit him back with, and instead of getting mad and, trying to rebuttal everything that they were saying, I hit him back with, well, I could probably lose my life tomorrow, or you could lose your life tomorrow. But, whenever it does come for that time, you're not going to really be able to look back on your own life and really take a look at, was I like the best investor of my own life? Did I adequately, take advantage of the things that I needed to take advantage of in order to live a more fulfilled life? So I hit him back with these like real philosophical questions on why it was that I was doing. And it wasn't necessarily I was like doing it to like be a dick or cause arguments or anything. It was more of a, like you said, Parker, it was like, investing is a lot like life. Each and every day we have decisions. That's all investing is how good of a decision maker you are at the end of the day that determines on how well your investment goes. There is a lot of people in the crypto world, a lot of average people that maybe, they just want to hop on the next hype coins or whatever. And a lot of those people buy the tops. We're 4 people sitting here that we don't buy the tops of coins because we make the best decisions based on where they're at the current, within that current market state. But no, I 100% agree with you there, especially on the burn the boats part too, that you were talking about. That was definitely a very hard decision for me to just go ahead and burn the boats and really go all in on myself. And I really feel like just that little philosophy alone is what keeps a lot of, barely keeps a lot of people who have a lot of potential from succeeding in the thing that they do, is just because they cannot bet on themselves. They could have the greatest idea in the world and know exactly how to operate it, how to run it, where to go with it, but they can't bet on themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what Web2 is, but that's also what Web3 is as well. It all comes down to, do you have what it takes to get up each and every morning, really try to become the best person that you can be. For me, where I was able to really decide that I could burn the boats and that I could really bet on myself is I was listening to Ed Milet's podcast. And, I'm a man of faith, Ed Milet's a man of faith as well. And he was telling a story. He goes, whenever it is my time to, go to heaven and I get to, ask God questions and, I get to talk to him for the very first time, he goes, he goes, what if God set a guy down in front of me and I wasn't able to recognize this guy? And the guy sitting down in front of me was the guy who God intended me to be, and you didn't even recognize him. That was, it still sends chills down my body thinking about that, because, each and every one of us, whatever your beliefs are, we were each put on this planet for a purpose. And it is our job to really figure that purpose out and continue to really live into that. And like I said, become that person that you were intended to be. For me, we live in a generation where people don't necessarily value money as much as they value time now. So it's not so much, money equals time. It's more about time equals freedom, or money equals freedom. And that's what, cryptos and NFT offer. Yes, we get to exchange money at the end of the day, and we get to, have a lot of fun or whatever it is. But what it is at the end of the day is, guys, they're digital assets, they're resources. And, if you're listening to the podcast, because I know I have this labeled under a business style category, that means you're interested in business if you're listening to this podcast. And as you know, as a business person, money is a resource to ultimately obtain everything that it is that you're going after. For me personally, it's about having the financial freedom. What comes with financial freedom? Time. That's how I want to live my life, is I want to have time to, take my wife out of the country and have a lot of fun with her, not to do it to flex on social media or whatever, because I could care less about that. For me, it's about building an experience that will stay with me for a lifetime, as to where, a couple dollars may stay with me for a couple minutes. Those vacations and those times with family is what is really going to matter at the end of the day. So, if you are someone who is kind of on the fence about, crypto, or on the fence about NFTs, just get over the thought that, oh, I may lose money. Hey, guess what, guys? I'm pretty sure all of us have lost money over the last 3 weeks, just with the crypto market being as down as it is. But, none of us are, curled up in the corner trying to figure out, okay, well, what do we do with our life now? No, we're sitting here talking on a podcast on how to be better people. And, with this podcast, we're here to, help new investors, or help even old investors really, have a seamless integration between, Web2 and Web3.
I agree with you, Adam. I think that a lot of people are just caught up in a very unfulfilling mindset, that life is just a game of trying to avoid risk and trying to mitigate losses. And I feel like, as much as life is like investing in many senses, it's also not like investing in many senses as well. In life, the gains are much more valuable than the losses. Your gains will always outweigh your losses if you're willing to pour yourself into something. So I'm someone that just has always believed that the reality of life is whatever we choose to make it. You are not in the situation that you are in unless you are at least comfortable enough to stay in it. Right? If you truly are that unhappy, if you're truly miserable, if you truly hate the situation you're in, you would leave it, because no one is forcing you to be where you are unless you're in prison or, I don't know, kidnapped. Those are about the only two situations I can think of where you are in a situation you truly can't control. Otherwise, if you don't like something, get up and change it. And that this is what Web3 offers you. The ability to take back control of first your finances, then your time, your life force, and then your life. I mean, what I have gained in clarity and in a lack of stress and feelings of fulfillment would dwarf any monetary gains that I might have left behind from a conventional world. And as an investor, as a project owner, as a consultant, as a team member, as a community member, I've just learned that life is for the living, right? Life is for you to grab it and seize it and go out there and achieve something and do something notable. Life is not here for us to just complain and whine and dawdle. I've always felt that we all have higher callings as people, and if getting out of your comfort zone allows you to find that, it's what you have to do. If you haven't found it where you are, you're in the wrong place. It's not the easiest pill to swallow, but you're going to have to either come to terms with it now or later, and the choice is yours.
No, definitely right there. You hit the nail right on the head again with what you said there. The choice is yours. And at the end of the day, we have two options. We either do or we don't. There's nothing in between that. You know, that we do operate on, you know, different frequencies. All of us do. We all vibrate differently in how we move within the universe and everything like that. But once you really put a knife, you know, through all of that, you're left with two options, and that's either you do or you don't. You know, as we kind of are wrapping up this podcast, you know, I want each and every one of us to drop just, you know, another couple lines, another 3 lines of just alpha, just on some tips that you guys have, you know, for people who are on the fence about, you know, coming into the NFT space. You know, for me, I have one very simple thing, and that is, you know, thoughts are things. You know, at the end of the day, if you can believe that you can do something, you will be able to do that. So whoever wants to go next, the floor is yours, but I've definitely appreciated having you guys here.
Yeah, brother, I love everything you guys are saying, man, and I couldn't resonate with it more. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I'd like to think about it like that, because I guess my piece would be, don't be afraid to reach out to one person, man, because that could change everything for you. I mean, I almost lost my life 11 months ago, right? And it took me a while to get back to, like, at least just functioning normally, because I was bedridden for a while. And all it took for me to get into this space was to reach out to one person, and then boom, next thing I know, we've got a project in the works. And that's literally it. You got to look at things. And Parker said one word, it's mindset, right? And I wish we had Julian on this call, who leads our transformational thinking hub all the time, because I mean, he talks about it all the time, man. And it's all about mindset, and just the way that you look at scenarios that you're put in, because you could be a doer, or you can be somebody that doesn't do it. And man, that's what really defines you. And if you take an opportunity out of a negative situation, it could change your life forever, man. And that's what I'm so grateful that, you know, I had the willpower to be able to do something like that. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents.
No, I definitely love that, Kevin. And that's one of the things, like, just being able to reach out is a big thing, right? We say at the end of the day, closed mouths don't get fed. You know, nobody can understand or read your mind or know what you're struggling with or what you have confusion on. So being able to just tap in, reach out. And another thing I would say too is, like, there's a lot of ways that you can tap into, you know, ecosystems and get to know more about it without actually putting some skin in the game. You know, we do regular Twitter spaces. You can go on, you can jump on Twitter, you can tap into these Twitter spaces, get to know, you know, click that button on the bottom left-hand corner, that request button, come up and ask questions. That's a big thing, being able to come up and say, hey, you know, I'm interested in this community. I'm liking what I'm hearing. You know, can you tell me a little bit more? Something like that. Jumping into Discord servers and, you know, talking with some of the community managers and the mods and just some of the other, you know, holders within the space. You know, there's a lot of different general chats that you can tap, and it's a big thing. You know, one of the things that just kind of like going off of, you know, what Adam was saying too, is like, thoughts are really things, you know, and if you're sitting there, you're too busy caught up in the moment of, you know, worrying about what happened yesterday, what's going on tomorrow. And then literally all you're doing is just pissing on today. With one foot in yesterday, one foot in tomorrow, you're just pissing on today. You're wasting away the day. There's no need to sit there and just dwell on the past. Take action now, right? Another one of those, you know, Coach Carver's comments or thoughts, whatever, is like, look, at the end of the day, just take that step, because, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Take action now. You know, just because the space has been going on and it moves so quickly, it's forever developing. You can get in at any moment and just pick up and go and learn, tap into these communities, tap into these alpha sessions. Join us back here next Friday where we're dropping even more alpha, you know, just stuff like that. Just being able to tune in at every moment that you can and taking advantage of it. Changing the way you look at things are going to, you know, allow those things to change for you, right? Stop looking at everything as such a risky investment. We come from the day and era of like, oh my gosh, trading is risky, stocks are risky, all this stuff is risky. Yes, everything in life is risky. Staying stuck and complacent is risky. Living a miserable life, like stuff like that, there's a lot of risk in it. right? You take a look at the world we're living in right now. Gas prices are higher than they've been in forever. Food is going up. Inflation is up over 9%. If you're not finding a way to tap into a community and figuring out how to make money while you sleep, like you're going to struggle, you're going to suffer. You need to jump into communities like this and take action and learn as much as you can, and then take action, right? Because at the end of the day, knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is. So jumping into communities, jumping in, listening to things like this, and then just taking action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Parker, pass it back over to you to finish this off, brother.
Yeah, Carver, I really agree with the last thing you said, and it's my tip as well. Just stop making excuses. Stop worrying, stop overthinking, just do it. Life is fleeting, it's short, nothing is promised. And if you don't just jump into it and give it a chance or try it, you just have to live with the regret of never giving yourself the opportunity to do it. And failure is the most valuable tool that we possess as humans. The ability to do something, mess it up bad, learn from it, and do it again. If you're going through life and you're gonna fail, you might as well fail forward. You might as well not worry about what's gonna happen to me tomorrow, what's gonna happen to me the day after, where am I gonna be after I make this mistake, after I mess this up. If you're gonna continue to go through life, always checking your shoulder, always looking around, wondering, you're gonna realize that you're going to come to the end of the line and you're going to be like, I walked through life so worried about the next thing that I never enjoyed the thing that I was actually a part of right then and there. So that's all I have to say. If you're thinking about getting into Web3, do it. Stop making excuses. Go read a book. Go take a seminar. Go just get yourself in the water. Dip your toes in. You don't have to do a cannonball. But if you just stand on the beach the whole time, you're never going to know what the waves feel like. So that's all I have to say.
Guys, that was amazing. If you guys missed all of that, you're driving on the road and you didn't get to catch all of that, pause the episode, rewind, 2-3 minutes ago, and just listen again to the alpha that these guys dropped here in the last, like I said, 3 minutes of this episode. I want to leave you off with one final thought here. And I just want you guys to know that, the process is a process for a reason. You have to be able to fall in love with that journey. But ultimately, as you're falling in love with that journey, just remind yourself every single day that your overall goal does not have to change. Your action in the present does. So say that again, guys. Say that to yourself. Your overall goal does not have to change, but your action in the present does. As we are wrapping up this episode, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to really just listen to us and get to know us a little bit. That's why we wanted to do this podcast, is we wanted to be able to connect with our ecosystem, be able to connect with new degens or regens or Web2 people who are on the fence. We wanted to be able to connect with you guys and let you guys know that we are normal people. We're not here to, just take your money. No, we're here to help you learn. We're here to help you win financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever it is that you're looking for. We are here to fulfill that piece. But as Carver mentioned earlier, we will be here every Friday. So if you guys are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or even watching on YouTube, make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that follow button. That way you guys are getting notified every time we post a new episode. We will see you guys sometime soon.